Welcome to T's Multiverse. I'm your host, Tyrus, and I have special guest Kie-Kie back with me. Welcome back, Kie-Kie.
Hey, guys.
Kind of dreaded this video because I don't know. I really don't know. I just really not happy with what we got with this series thus far. Kie-Kie, you're going to help me out with this one because it's just like I really I just don't know. I don't know. Everything that surrounded this whole situation with the He-Man series started with Kevin Smith pretty much feuding with another channel in regards to what they mentioned about what this series was going to be from the get-go. And this thing dates back to March of 2020. YouTube channels with Clownfish, they mentioned that this series was going to pretty much sideline He-Man, and it was pretty much going to be the Tila series along with her prospective girlfriend. That was pretty much going to be the series with her girlfriend, and maybe some other individuals who were going to help save the universe, minus He-Man. You know, my understanding of Kevin Smith's He-Man series from alleged insider, Tila is a better He-Man than Adam, steps aside to let her and her girlfriend take over the hero duties. If this is true, this won't play out well. And then he returns back with a number of tweets stating that that's not what it is. He-Man does no sidestepping. There's no girlfriend, yada, 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 whatever it is. And it's just been a pretty much back and forthing throughout. There's been numerous reports where Kevin Smith stated that he's a He-Man fan, but then it's been found out that through social media, you know, people can look up things, and it's stated that he stated on his podcast he has no love for He-Man. Then he stated that again via Twitter that he's not a big He-Man fan, but yet on Entertainment Weekly articles and at the announcement of this series, he's stating that he's a big fan of the genre. He's labeling him a super He-Man fan when I don't think he is. And then in a recent Variety article, he stated that he hate-watched He-Man growing up because he didn't like it. Because
he almost hate-watched
He almost.
Yeah, so you have to watch him in his words.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So he said, I almost hate-watched because he thought the show was for babies.
Oh.
Technically, he never said he did watch it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Personally, I don't believe that from 1983 to 1985 that he actually watched He-Man as it was airing. And he probably did, after the fact, watched a few episodes, but not during the time that He-Man actually aired.
Yeah, and that's the thing Kie-Kie schooled me on when we were watching this whole situation unfold in terms of like the way he words things. And she told me, she said, watch his words, because there's a way that he twists it and turn it to where it's like, oh, I didn't say that He-Man sidesteps, but yet he's not in the series.
Yeah. So,
and there's a way to spin it. So,
yeah,
the way he spins things.
The way that Clownfish said that He-Man steps aside and allows for Tila to be the hero, and Kevin Smith responded that no, He-Man does no stepping aside for Tila. When you watch the series, all 5 episodes so far, you clearly can see that He-Man was not the main focus of the show, and that he was not in it as much as all the other characters were.
No,
so technically he didn't lie by saying that he did not step aside, because He-Man or Adam did not make that choice for himself. So he was removed. I'm at this point where if Kevin Smith says anything, I'm not believing it at all whatsoever, because you really literally have to watch his words, because he will give you what the literal meaning or what he's trying to say. You understood when Clownfish said that He-Man steps aside, regardless if he does it himself or someone does it for him. Mm-hmm. The basis of their comment stands true.
I'm just disappointed. And for anybody that's listening in, if you like this series, then that's definitely your opinion, and I respect that. And that's what it's all about. What I've been doing, I've been just listening to various opinions on this and different people's take. There are some people who don't want to speak on it, and there's some people who do. I know for a fact, if you have watched any of my videos, from my very first video, I've mentioned that He-Man means a lot to me as a kid growing up. He carried me through a lot. I always looked up to him, and to see him in this climate, for them to pretty much, they hate the word He-Man, and it's looked upon as a negative. It's maybe deemed toxic masculinity, and I just don't like that. I really wish we weren't here as a people right now, because it shouldn't be this way. And that's how I feel. I feel like his name in itself is labeled in a negative way when it shouldn't be. If anybody watched the He-Man series, you understand. If you truly watch the He-Man series, you'll really understand what that character stood for. He stood for the best in all of us. And the morals and the values and the lessons that were taught throughout that series are still needed and are still relevant to this day. These are things that people still need to live by. If we all did, this world would be a much better place. I feel like he's sat down because of the fact that he represents what now current day genre deems as toxic. And it's just sad. Now we live in a world where these creators are attacking fans for having an opinion. It's ridiculous. I sit up and I watch this guy, Kevin Smith, hold a live stream where he's basically just picking at fans and taking shots at fans for having an opinion about his series. Growing up, Siskel and Ebert, that was their show. They were the show for films. And they picked apart and they gave their take on films. Regardless of if I agree with it or anybody agree with it or not, that's their take on things. So as a fan, now you can't have an opinion on a show if it doesn't fit their narrative and what they want you to say. Then now they have the word review bombing. So now they're using that word. So if you don't like it, you're a racist, you're a sexist, you're this, you're that. How about you just need to take time to actually do a decent series? Whatever happened to that? Whatever happened to really focusing on story and not someone's sexuality or someone's color? And that's what's dominating, and that's what's killing these franchises. Terminator, Doctor Who, Star Trek, Star Wars. The list just goes on and on. The Batwoman TV show, the Supergirl TV show, they're all destroyed by these identity politics. Just very sad. I'm just sick of this. I'm just tired of seeing these things happen. Just things that really matter to me. And I shouldn't be chastised for feeling a certain way about these things. No fan should be chastised or picked at like he did at his panel last night. He's picking at people for saying that he ruined their childhood or they had an opinion on something. You don't know what these things could have meant to different people, what it could have brought them through. I mentioned in Kie-Kie today is Kevin Conroy talked about what his Batman animated series meant to people and how people would walk up to him and say, hey, your series pretty much saved my life. It got me through so much. You just don't know what these characters and these things mean. And for someone who built their career on talking about these things and having an opinion, and then yet he's telling people to shut up and not say anything. Sorry for ranting, Kie-Kie. I just wish this would stop. What's your take on this series as a whole?
I never grew up watching He-Man because I was like a year old when it came out. Really, my exposure to He-Man was through you. And I've watched it as an adult and could appreciate the series, even the 2000X series. That was a good adaptation. As an adult, I understand that if you're going to redo a series, it's going to be different. But for the most part, it's going to have the same flavor of what the previous show was. And that's the way Kevin Smith was trying to market it. It's just a continuation of what you saw from the 80s TV series. I personally feel that it was not. Teela is a whole different character. The fact that he doesn't even see that there's an issue, that He-Man was not a part of this. Like, okay, I won't say he was not a part because that would be lying. He was a part of it.
For a few minutes.
For a few minutes. Like, if you put somebody in something for 5 seconds, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are a part of it. Like, truly what you mean by a part of it. But if you let him tell it, he was a part of it. And him sacrificing himself was what a hero does. That makes him the greatest.
That protects him from saying that He-Man was
because he wasn't a part of it. But my thing is that a hero can continue to live. A hero can fight the bad guy, win against the bad guy, and live to fight another day. That could be a hero as well. It doesn't necessarily mean that he had to die, to sacrifice himself in order to be the hero. And on top of that, if you're trying to tell me that he's the hero by his sacrifice, why is that sacrifice not celebrated more than it was? It was as if it was like, oh, he sacrificed himself, let me cry for a second, and then let's have Teela throw a fit that he
gotta be mad.
Because now she knows that He-Man is Adam. Okay, I'm gonna be mad because nobody told me. But he made that ultimate sacrifice. But then the issue is he made that sacrifice and left you on Eternia to deal with it. But he saved the whole entire Eternia. So I just don't understand. It doesn't add up. It really doesn't.
I just want to say this right, and I'm gonna let you. Why is it that this man sacrificed himself for Eternia? He gave up everything. Because if he doesn't, the whole world ends. It's over. Even Teela goes, He-Man, you will die if you do this. He said, no, I have to do this to save everyone. He gives up everything. When you go back to the palace, the parents are crippled by finding out that He-Man has perished. No, his mom knew that Adam was He-Man, that father didn't know. When the father finds out, he's crippled by this, as well as the mother. So they're trying to deal with the fact that their son is gone. The world is going to be without He-Man. A life was lost. But guess what? No, the focus can't be on that. The focus has to be on Teela being selfish and angry about why nobody didn't tell her Adam was He-Man. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I don't like it.
Is this what we want our heroes to be? This is how they're writing the strong female character. They're selfish. They're self-absorbed. They're not heroic. It's just all about them and just shallow. It's just me. It has to be about me. They create these awful people to be heroes. That is not a hero. To be that selfish, you just lost your friend. 2 parents lost their son. They didn't think how selfish that looked. That just looks so bad. But again, that's how they're writing these characters. They're just unlikable people. You don't want to root for them. You just don't. But every character that was created in the 80s, in the 90s, and every character that does work, you root for these characters. Original Teela from 80s series. Heroic, strong, selfless, and was not about her. It's about helping others, being loving, being caring, being that strong warrior. She was the captain of the Royal Guard. 2000X series, same thing. But this one, in this era, you have to shave her head, make her angry, and have her to be pissed off, and everyone has to bow down to her. And it has to be about her. She argued with Adam about how he left her, and they had to deal with it. And he said, "Till I died, but you left us to deal with it." Why would you write that in the show?
Yeah, so now just imagine you're angry, and it's not even about the man being dead. Who would go to a loved one that has died, and you get an opportunity through a medium of some sorts to talk to this person, and you are mad at them for dying? That blows me over. Like, I don't understand that concept at all. I really don't. It's always a situation where you have to have them mad. Yeah. And because that's the box that you need to check off, you make them mad at the stupidest thing.
You mentioned that in one of the videos.
It's the CW all over again.
That's CW writing.
I need to be mad. You took the last piece of cake. Those kinds of things. Where it's just like, you know what? If you need to have an emotion, it's an emotion of sadness because your friend that you cared about died. And then the fact that, dang it, I did not know he was He-Man. Yeah. So you're a little bit puzzled by that. You might think, well, why didn't he tell me? So I guaranteed you're going to have feelings.
Exactly.
Because if someone comes up, you find out something about somebody after they died. It's like, well, why didn't you tell me that? Yeah. I don't understand.
And I'm fine with that.
You're just puzzled. But to be angry at this
and make it about you. But I tell you this, in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the best thing in May, she wasn't that way, and she was the baddest character on the show, and you knew she was bad. She didn't have to tell you.
Yeah, and even with Teela, she has to be like, "Oh, I worked so hard to."
Oh, that's the dialogue to open the show. Yeah. I'm this and I'm that.
I'm so happy because I'm A, B, C, and D, and it's just like, okay, you know what? Go ahead, girl. You pat yourself on the back. You toot your own horn. If no one else is gonna do it, that's fine. But for that to be the formula of your series is just ridiculous. And I personally don't see where they can come back from this. If I was Netflix, I would do an early release of the remaining 5 episodes.
Yeah.
To either, if it gets better, to shut everybody up so that you can say, see, you're wrong. Mm-hmm. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That's perfectly fine. I would be happy.
I hope so.
To be wrong.
Well, in the latest Entertainment Weekly article, they're stating that Adam is not dead. I'll have the link in the description for that. And they're stating that there's more to his story and all these things. Yeah. But you don't trust that because that could mean. And tell me what you told me what you think is gonna happen.
Yeah, so
with this series and with the
live stream that Kevin Smith had. He mentions, because he has to debunk all the things that the fans say, he mentions that, you know what, Teela does not wield the sword. Mm-hmm. Which is like, okay, thanks for letting us know, Kevin, because I wouldn't put it past him. But the question, because you got to watch him. You got to watch him. Telling you that Teela does not wield the sword. Right. But then you got to ask, well, then who do? Because you just stabbed Adam.
This blew me over when you told me this.
He's not going to, even if he comes back and he's not dead, he's not going to wield the sword right away or be able to even help them fight. Skelegod.
No.
So then it's like, wait a minute, who else is there? Okay.
Wow.
Evil-Lyn is off with Skeletor or Skelegog now. So
watch out for this, folks.
So my thinking is that
and you're going to be right.
It's going to be Audra.
It's going to be Andra.
She is going to go ahead and wield the sword at some point in this series. So Kevin Smith doesn't lie. So it's not Teela, but it is Audra. And if you realize when you go back into one of the episodes, she even mentions like, oh, my great-grandfather told me about King Grayskull. And I firmly believe that she's a relative of King Grayskull. And some way, somehow that ties in. And she is the champion. And you realize that they don't necessarily call He-Man by name.
That is so
when you
sad,
say
man.
Go call He-Man.
Go call your champion.
You calling He-Man.
Yeah. Oh, they hate it.
Say go call your champion. So that is the person. So it's a champion. It's not a He-Man. It's a champion. And anyone and everyone could be a champion. So my prediction is that it's going to be Audra. She's going to be the one to wield the sword some way, somehow. And then how does Adam / He-Man fit into any of that? And you only have 5 episodes. And so you have like 2 hours and some to even tell the story. So he's going to be sidelined
again
because he has to recover from his injury.
Yeah. At the end of this show, in episode 5, when you think Adam is back, everyone sees him, everybody's happy, Cringer jumps on him, and they're happy together, and he goes, I'm going to restore magic back into eternity. He says the words, by the power of Grayskull. As he is about to say, I have the power, Skeletor comes out of nowhere, because he's hid himself into his staff of power, because He-Man injured him. He skewers him with a spear. Is he dead or is he not dead? So that pretty much now you think you're going to get He-Man back, but they sideline him again.
Yeah.
And then so what Kevin Smith does after the watch party episodes he holds, he celebrates and says that, oh, I killed He-Man and Adam. I did it again. Okay, good for you, man. Yeah. Okay, I hope this works out for you. I hope that He-Man comes back and he saves the day like he should. Because like I mentioned in my last review, check that out. I said, I don't mind the focus being on Teela. I don't mind you focusing on her for maybe an episode, but nobody wants to see the Teela show. I'm sorry. That's just what it is. This needs to be about He-Man and then the things around him. Just like Transformers need to be about Optimus Prime and the world that's around him. And that's just how it works. Now, if you want to do a Teela series, promote it as a Teela series, straightforward. And just say, this is going to be a Teela series. Kevin Smith should have said it straight out. Netflix all but did say, hey, that Teela is going to save. But then he goes, oh, no, He-Man does no sidestepping. But then you look at his advertising with the products, the cereals and everything. It's all He-Man on the front. Where's Andra? Where's Teela? Where's Evil-Lyn? Because that was the whole show. It was Andra, Evil-Lyn, Teela, and Roboto. Why he got killed off, I have no idea. How that made no sense. Then before this series dropped, he's celebrating about killing off Orko, which okay. These things are just really ridiculous. I'm just blown away by how people are taking these old IPs and they're inserting these identity politics and these weird story arcs within them. And it's just very sad. I just hate that we're here at this point where we can't get great shows from the characters and the properties that we love. Please don't touch any more properties. I know we're getting a Silverhawk series and I hope that works out, but I really don't want anybody to touch anything else because this is just really getting out of hand. Everything they touch, it just turns to dust. And I don't care to watch the next season. I don't care. I wish they would have just dropped all 10 episodes. I don't know why they had to do that. Who knows? But I don't care. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope they bring He-Man back. I hope Adam is able to find the strength to turn into He-Man and save the day like he should. Because nobody wants to see another 5 episodes of Teela and her ragtag bunch up to save the day again. I just don't care. Because they keep creating unlikable people who are not heroes. Shaving your head and catching an attitude is not heroic. The series, for me, it was bearable. And it was bad, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be because I was forewarned. Tell me this, Kie-Kie, as a whole, what's your thoughts on the portrayal of strong female characters?
I think they're just using the same mold and it just gets tiring to see the same thing. I'm bad, here's my muscles, don't see my chest, and here's my pants that I have on with my armor on, and I'm bad. Oh yeah, I'm mad too. I'm mad bad. Watch me. And did I tell you how I'm great? okay, I'm gonna tell you again, I'm great. It's just the same formula.
Yeah.
And at some point, somebody needs to rewrite that. At some point, someone needs to give them permission to do something else, because it's just like you see the same thing. It's either the same meal over and over and over again, and you disguise it as something else, but it's the same thing. And I'm mad. But I'm
Why are you mad?
And I'm mad
because you took the last Kit Kat.
Yeah. It's crazy. I don't like the portrayal of that. And so it makes me feel like, okay, so I'm not supposed to put on a skirt because that's the problem.
You're not supposed to embrace your femininity.
You're not supposed to be feminine. Don't put on the makeup. Don't put on the lipstick. Don't wear your hair down. Nope. Don't do any of that. No. But,
That's not strong.
Exactly.
That's not strong.
And I don't believe that at all in no way, shape, or form. If that's what you want to do, if that's how you want to present yourself, that's your choice. That's perfectly fine. But don't walk around and say that of the however many millions and billions of females of all races, of all everything, ethnicities, cultures, of all of that, everybody needs to do that. Women go through things like every single day on a daily. You're dealing with this. If you're a mother, if you're this, if you're the CEO, if you're the director, and you're telling me that I got to keep on telling everybody at every turn how great I am, and do you see my pants? It's just like... And
don't forget, you got to be angry. You got to be angry all the time. And make it about you all the time.
Exactly. And it's just like, okay, don't like men. Men are the worst. But do you see how I look like one?
What are your thoughts? He comes out and he talks about how Netflix assured him that he doesn't have anything to worry about, and that he, don't worry about it, people, because they told me that they got X amount of subscribers, so don't worry about what people have to say about this series. The people who have a opinion about this, don't worry about it. Like, what is your thoughts on that? I thought that was the weakest thing to do in terms of like telling people that fans, what you feel don't matter because Netflix has an X amount of subscribers already. That could change tomorrow. There's problems. I heard that Netflix is having issues already. Mattel is going through some issues. There's things that's going on behind the scenes. So what are your thoughts on like that?
I guarantee you, Kevin Smith chooses words a little bit differently. Because even if I am an executive at Netflix or administrative assistant or whoever told him whatever he told them, that wasn't supposed to be repeated on a podcast.
I don't think it was.
So it's kind of like, okay, Kevin, we're going to need to sit you down and have a conversation with you. And this is what you're going to say, what you're allowed to say, and what you're not allowed to say. It's an intervention from Netflix or even from Mattel. How and where did it get that way to where you can't even express your opinion? And now, okay, granted, we have more than just Siskel and Ebert to give that opinion. And you do have, various ways to do that. This YouTube channel being one. You can go on Rotten Tomatoes when they allow you to give your opinion and all of that. There is more coming at you. There is more opinions and you hear it more than you did like 20 years ago. But at the same time, I should be allowed to do that. PR 101. Don't attack the people. My bachelor's degree is in public relations, and that is not what they teach you. I deal with that on a daily basis. When you're creating your message to the audience, you have to look at the audience. Who are you trying to attract? And then make your message based on that. Kevin Smith, you knew the audience that you were trying to attract. You were trying to attract He-Man fans. So you have a fan base already built in. So of the I'm throwing out numbers, 1.5 million people that love He-Man, that are the He-Man fans, you attach yourself to that, pretending that you're a diehard fan, which you said repeatedly that you are not. So you just, they'll forget about that. I'm a diehard fan. And you were hoping and wanting that built-in fan base. And you utilize that fan base to just pretty much do a bait and switch.
That's what it was.
And once again, if I'm wrong, episode 6, let me be wrong.
You're not wrong. But it's been a bait and switch. It's been a bait and switch already.
I highly doubt it. And for Kevin Smith to be attacking these fans.
That's what's sad.
That's the sad part. Like, I don't understand that.
This series was unnecessary. It was just a huge pile of cow manure is what it was for me. I will tell you this. The first few minutes of the episode, I loved it. It was He-Man. You got, they know what you want, but they don't want to give that to you because that means that He-Man will be the focus. And then they throw in flashback sequences, so when they do the trailer, they can make it like He-Man's in it, and He-Man's not really in this thing at all. The first few minutes are awesome, up until he sacrificed himself. That is heroic, but you did it so that you can sideline him. This is not a continuation of the Filmation at all. I do liken this to an alternate reality. The more and more I heard, the more and more I was able to find out. It has nothing to do with the Filmation. First of all, why would Sorceress go to Evil-Lyn for help? In the original series, it would be Duncan, aka Man-at-Arms. But there's things you see that you know this is not it. The 2000X series is by far, hands down, the greatest He-Man series overall. It took aspects of the 80s series and it elevated it to a whole nother level. And on top of that, they gave you origins and more backstory on the heroes as well as the villains. But yet they want you to forget that. They don't even mention the 2000X series. That is the greatest series for anybody that's a He-Man fan. Definitely watch the 2000X as well as the 80s series. You will be entertained and you will love them both. Voice casting. What was your thoughts on the voice casting?
I didn't like it. The biggest one was Mark Hamill. He ain't even tried to be nothing other than the Joker.
And I'm going to say this for you. Like, we both were like, people are just being too hard on Mark Hamill. He's okay. But then we heard it. It was like, wait a minute.
So I was like, he's a professional. He knows how to disguise his voice. He's not just going to be, you're going to hear some of Joker because obviously that's his voice, but he ain't even try. Like, it was just Joker, and I did not like it. Sarah Michelle-Gellar as Teela, just even despite the fact that Teela, it wasn't even Teela, the voice didn't go along with it. I didn't like Chris Wood as He-Man. He was just like, even when he was doing his transformation, it was like, okay.
Are you going to sleep or are you changing to He-Man?
Exactly.
By power, grace. I'm like, dude, are you going to sleep or you have any authority in this voice? They don't want him to have strength and authority. They don't want that. So that's a no-no. And then that's why they took away the thunder. As well. They made it a light.
I just didn't like it. There were, of course, like Scareglow was good.
Scareglow was awesome.
King Grayskull was good. Hero was good as well.
Kevin Conroy sounded like Batman.
Like you just heard Batman. Like,
why would you have him the sea creature? Like I don't.
Yeah, like where's the like where's the gurgle?
One of the best for me too is Lena Headey for Evil-Lyn. She did a really good job. And Susan Eisenberg, I knew she was going to do great. I'm not trying to be hard on people, but this is just my opinion. If you like them, great. But for me, this cast, it seemed like for the ones that didn't work, it felt like the tryout cast. Like they tried out people and then they said, we'll just keep everybody. When there's cuts that needed to be made. Because Tony Todd also, why didn't they not make the Alan Offenheimer? Yeah, he played Mossman. Yeah. But why didn't they just let him voice Skeletor?
Yeah, because that's his voice. Why would Skeletor you do that? From the show back in the day. God. Unless he just did not want to do it. That's one thing. Because sometimes they get a little something and they don't decide not to do it. But he's Skeletor. Like, he's
you
right
got
there.
Skeletor. It's like in heyday, in your prime. In the 90s, having Michael Jordan on the bench, and then you need him in the game, and go, get that guy in the game, get that 12th, that 13th man, put him in the game,
leaving Jordan on the
bench. I don't understand that. I wanted to see the level of action sequences that we saw in Castlevania. I wanted to see that for the He-Man series. I did not see that at all. It was nowhere near close, and it should have been right there with Castlevania. But the animation looked awesome. The animation looks just beautiful. Also, Sarah Michelle-Gellar mentioned women were an afterthought on the original He-Man series. What they need to do moving forward with these cast members, please have these people to do their homework. Because she had no idea what she was talking about. Because if you do your homework and you watch the original He-Man series, you'll understand that Teela was very prominent in the entire series. There were women who were very prominent throughout the series. Queen, Evil-Lyn, Sorceress, and whoever else would cameo. They didn't do any sidestepping during that era. There was no agenda. There was just people who were just focused on making great stories and making great animated series. Her story was prominent. She was at the forefront of every battle. She was set up as the next Sorceress. 2000X series, they did an even greater job of developing her story, and she was in, again, every episode helping He-Man to save the day. I don't understand how women were not prominent in that back in the day. And it wasn't about girls and boys. It was about people enjoying all of the cartoons back in the day. And that's how it still should be. It shouldn't be men and women. It should be everybody. Even to this day, I'm checking out some of the She-Ra series and looking back at it, I think the stakes were even higher in the She-Ra series than the He-Man. And so I find that series interesting to this day as well. I watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She was the lead in her TV show. You wonder how she would have felt if they would have sidelined her after the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And then everybody else would have just, taken over the duties, how that would have played out. And I wouldn't have liked that because that was her show. If this is your series, you shouldn't be sidelined after the first episode.
Yeah.
There were Buffy the Vampire movies that were made prior to that. Why didn't they just sideline her after one episode? No, because it's her series. This whole thing about women just dropping on the face of the planet in 2017 and how they never was leads in anything, it's a lie. Just from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, women were leads in TV series and movies. They were leads. Don't believe the lie, because that's not the truth. Sigourney Weaver, she was a part of one of the biggest franchises in Hollywood with Aliens. Linda Hamilton with The Terminator. There was countless sitcoms. I'm a huge sitcoms junkie. I love 80s and 90s sitcoms. Just about every 80s and 90s sitcoms had a female lead. And they didn't have to tell you they were strong. They were strong and they stood for something. And they took care of their family and they took care of their business. Now it has to be made like women never got their due at all in anything. They've never led in anything. And then when you do have the females on screen, because they do deserve their due. But when you do have them on the screen, you portray them in such a negative and unlikable light to where you don't want to root for them and you don't care for the character. And like I mentioned to you, Kie-Kie, about Marvel, the way things are now with them ruining these properties in the sake of, diversity or inclusion for women's rights, they're ruining people's opportunities to make successful female properties who are really trying to do it organically, like an A-Force film for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They can't do it now because of stuff like this. Because they're like, if we do it, people are going to say, no, here we go again. Here's the woke stuff. Some people are just really trying to make great content with female leads, but you can't do that now because you have idiots like this who are creating properties and it's standing on quicksand. There's no foundation. It's just all about the person's sexual orientation and their color, but not about who they are internally in the story. We're just in a mess right now when it comes to these properties. What will the impact of the toy line be from this series, the post-part 1?
I think it will have some effect on there because there are some people that collect the line and it just reminds them of the whatever it is based on. So if it's not a good feeling, then you're not going to want to have it.
So my take on the figures is like this, Kie-Kie. I love this figure line. I think it's pretty awesome. This is the best thing to come out of this series. Wave 1 looks amazing. I mean, we get He-Man, Skeletor, Evil-Lyn, and then Moss-Man. I love Moss-Man. That was a huge surprise for them to release Moss-Man. Wave 2 looks great. I was impressed with Man-at-Arms and how he looked. And then we have Spikor. And then we have Beast-Man. And then we have Shaved Head Tiller. I'm in with this Wave 2, all except for Tiller. Hopefully we'll get a vintage-looking Tiller, pre-apocalyptic Tiller down the road. But I'm very impressed with this line. And I feel like I'm able to separate my feelings for this series and then as well as my feelings for this figure line to where I can go, okay, I don't like the series, but I do like the figures. And I do understand there are some people who don't feel that way, and I completely understand. I just think it's an opportunity to dive into an awesome He-Man line. I mean, we don't have the Masters of the Universe Classics. The prices for those figures are skyrocketed, and so you have the opportunity to dive in or just dip into a line that really pretty awesome. Thoughts on the Tri-Klops cult plot device?
I did not like that. It was weird, and it was just like, is this supposed to be propelling something forward? I don't know. I didn't like it. It didn't make any sense.
It felt like they didn't know what else to do with the show. Yeah, and it was just filling space.
Just throwing a storyline.
It was filling space
and his technology. Maybe later on it'll pay off, but
it was just too much. I just felt like they were being really lazy with the writing in terms of filling those areas. Maybe they could have used that space to find the rest of the Masters, kind of show where they were at within this apocalyptic Eternia. Stratos, Ram Man, you have Buzzsaw, Fisto, you have what's Clamp Champ. There's so many other ones they could have found, but they didn't want to do that because that would have meant a male would have been able to possibly join their group. But that device, you have this puzzled look on your face.
Yeah, I had a thought.
All right, I got a big question mark from up here.
So the whole Tri-Klops storyline was more so about the whole technology. So right now it doesn't make any sense, but I feel that in part 2, technology is going to win over magic. And so that is their way of trying to set that up. And our whole idea of the new champion, she's all about technology.
No. So you mean this is more of an Andra build up?
I think so, and it's more so of a technology, and I think technology is going to be the winner over magic. And that's what because right now it doesn't make any sense. Like, he's a minion of Skeletor, so
I honestly, I like Tri-Klops. I always liked him from the original series, and I liked him in the 2000X. He's a tech guy, but I just felt like they were beating that whole story. Yeah. They were beating stuff. It was just like, okay, when are y'all can y'all showcase maybe another villain?
Yeah.
That's trying to take what happened to everybody else.
Everybody else. Are the other ones not trying to take over?
Yeah.
The world? So since Skeletor
that was just weird. Around? That was just weird.
Yeah, I would have rather a different story.
It just felt lazy, and that's the thing for me with this whole series, because there's so much you could explore within these scenes, which you didn't do. Another thing that kind of got to me in this series, Kie-Kie, can anybody just use the power sword?
I know that when you really think about it, it's just like, okay, that's all you had to do was catch him in the midst of him changing. Like, I just feel, unless I'm confused.
And he stopped Adam from transforming by piercing him with that staff, and then he just took the sword.
Yes, ideally you would think he wouldn't be able to do anything with it. Like, unless I'm thinking about, what's the other one with the sword? Lionel. Like,
one should be able, no evil force should be able to utilize the power of those swords, and we've seen that.
That doesn't make any sense.
I thought what they would do is he would go within the caverns of Castle Grayskull, like 2000X, tap into its power, and then change into Skele-God, like they did in the 2000X. The Snake Man wanted to take the power of Grayskull by traveling underneath Grayskull, where all the power was with the elders. Mm-hmm. And, of course, my boy Zodak and He-Man stopped them. But in this one, it was just, again, it was lazy, because it was just like, so all Skeletor ever had to do is just take the sword and say, I have power, and then he has the power, and I don't even know I can't remember if he even had said, because it's just, that was weird as well. I just did not understand that at all. Another thing I noticed, Kie-Kie, I gotta say this. I watch other people talk about this series, and they might have seen He-Man growing up, or they might all right with him, and they go, well, folks, this guy just gotta wait on it, maybe just not take it as serious, or it's okay, it was all right, I liked it. When you could tell they did not like it, and it's because they're not He-Man fans. Mm-hmm. They're okay, they're all right with it being, anybody doing whatever with it, but, and I've seen this, if you touch, or if you mess up the thing that matters to them, like maybe a Transformers or a G.I. Joe or G.I. Joe or Snake Eyes or something, they don't want to watch it. They roll out their opinions on things. This series is not the end of the world. This is just basically our take on how we see this series. And it was just not that enjoyable. I can't just sit up and lie to you all and make it like I really enjoyed this series when I didn't. Turn a blind eye for the sake of not sounding negative. This is just our take on it, and it's okay if you disagree. That's what it's all about. We can agree or we can respectfully disagree. I'm entitled to express how I feel about this series, just like they're entitled to express how they feel about things that matter to them. I know for me, I'm not going to spend every episode talking about this series. Now, when it comes back, who knows how I feel? I may or may not review this series. I don't know, because it goes back to that old saying, if you don't like something, don't watch it. And that's how I feel. But as far as expressing how I feel about this thing, I'm going to do that. And I feel like anybody else, they have that right to do that as well. Just because this thing doesn't matter as much to you doesn't mean no one should have an opinion or express how they feel about that. No, I know a lot of people who may not want to express how they really feel about this project because they don't want to come off as negative, which I didn't. I don't want to come off as being just negative individual who's just bashing a series. There's some people who say they like it, really do like it, but I feel like a lot of people don't like this thing. Some people just don't want to say it. Yes, there's a limit to how much you should just hammer and continue to talk about it, because again, it's not going to be a situation where every video is going to be about Master of the Universe Revelation. Anything else you want to add?
Just the one other part about the sorceress and how she didn't even how was she fooled?
Yeah, and I mentioned that to you. I was like, that was just the dumbest thing. Like, you're supposed to be all powerful, all knowing. Talking about the part where the sorceress, Skeletor, Evil-Lyn, and Faker, but they all cast this illusion upon themselves. Faker was Fakor, so he looked like He-Man. So they were able to just pass through Castle Grayskull. Sorceress said, come on in. So you just didn't know that they were there. And then so that's all it took for them to just cast an illusion.
It's like, I'm surprised they didn't do that earlier.
Yeah, why not just try that earlier? And then when they come in, I know you mentioned she said, I would have known. But
yeah, it's like she knew that it was Skeletor, but for some reason did not realize that Fakor was that wasn't He-Man.
That was just
so
another weak plot device. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like all of the characters, minus Tila, everyone was okay on the surface to where it was bearable. You can watch these characters, but the stories surrounding everyone as a whole, that's where the series falls short. Even though Man-at-Arms' voice was a little off for me, I still like this character. I didn't mind Andra. I didn't mind Orko. I didn't mind Evil-Lyn. Everyone was okay.
You have to have certain things and diversity, all that stuff. Yeah. I get it. By all means, yeah. But do it the right way. Yeah. Don't do it just to do it, because then that's a disservice. And you're really just saying that you don't really care. I
think the best example of that is Cobra Kai. Like, they do an awesome job of including people from different races, male and female from different walks of life. And they made you really fall into these characters. With that, they also respect the spirit of the original Karate Kid series and its mythology, as well as the original characters.
Yeah, it's like a good blend of old and new.
It's a beautiful blend, because you pay homage to those characters. Yeah. You're not telling people that Daniel and all those guys are worthless. They are prominent, and they're still great. But then at the same time, you're ushering this new era of people that they're going to be teaching. And with that, you make those characters likable, because you're not pushing Daniel and the other people to the side and saying they're worthless. They're doing it in an excellent way where you really love the franchise.
And you want to know why? It's because they're
fans.
Wow.
Exactly. Wow. Yeah. Kevin Feige is a fan.
Yes.
Any closing thoughts?
Hopefully they recover in part 2.
Yeah.
They will recover from that and give like a good ending of some sorts. I have no... Yeah. I don't think so, but I'm semi-hopeful.
I hope that for Spirit of the He-Man series, that we get the last 5 episodes to make up for what this first part did not do. Hope we get a lot of He-Man. Hope we get a lot of the other masters. Hope it doesn't go the route we feel it's going to go, because if it does, then it's just going to do more damage. All people want is great entertainment, and they want you to just respect the spirit of what these series brought to the table in both the 80s as well as the 2000s. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much, Kie-Kie, for tuning in. I appreciate you. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button. It really will help push the channel moving forward. If you haven't also as well, you need to make sure you hit that bell notification so that you're notified when these videos drop. Once again, thank you to everyone who is tuning in to this. I appreciate you. And until next time, be good to one another, be safe, and remember, I have the power. Until next time.